Sunset Crater is a basaltic cinder cone volcano that is located in the San Francisco volcanic field. It was formed about 900 to 1,000 years ago, sometime around 1075 AD, plus or minus 25 years. There have been predictions as when the volcano actually began to erupt, some as early as 1060 AD or as late as 1150 AD. Initially, the eruption was believed to have occurred closer to around 1064-1065 AD. These predictions were from tree ring dating. However, more recent predictions from paleomagnetic evidence suggest that the eruption was more likely to have occurred sometime around 1075 AD. The volcano started as an 11-kilometer fissure that spewed out cinder, ultimately piling upon itself, creating the crater that we see today. The fissure is caused due to gas rapidly expanding and escaping lava. Then this creates cinders that fall back to the ground after being in the air. Arizona does not sit on any plate boundaries, so it can only be theorized by scientists that the North American plate moved over a volcanic hotspot, which is where the San Francisco volcanic field sits today. It is believed that there were two different series of eruptions. When Sunset Crater first erupted sometime around 1075 AD, the Sinagua people were living in the area, so the eruption did have quite a big effect on them. Overall, the size of the volcano is stunning. From rim to rim, the crater is 868 meters, with the base being 1.6 kilometers. The depth of the crater is 91.4 meters, but the height overall is 305 meters. The summit of the crater sits 2,447 meters above sea level. As for the damage of the surrounding area, an ashfall extent reached about 2,072 square kilometers away from the volcano, and about 500 million tons of cinder was released from the eruption. The cinder is what ultimately gave Sunset Crater its name. A large amount of cinder that came out of the vent of the volcano, when cooled, was a reddish-orangish color, which now sits inside the crater itself. When looking at the crater, it can almost be seen as a sunset because of the vibrant colors, ultimately giving the volcano the name Sunset Crater. This ashen cinder is believed to have covered about 64,000 acres of potential farmland for the Sinagua people. Another problem that occurred because of the eruption was lava flows. There were 3 different flows that came from the base of the volcano and went about 8 to 11 kilometers. These lava flows led to multiple forest fires in the surrounding area, and any vegetation that was in the surrounding 3-kilometer radius was destroyed, but the mixture of ash, cinder, and lava flows had an effect on vegetation up to 24 kilometers away from the actual eruption. During these lava flows, events such as squeeze-ups and spatter cones occurred. Squeeze-ups are formed as pasty lava from beneath the surface. The lava oozes through cracks in the lava crust, and grooves appear where the lava scrapes against the walls of the cracks. As for spatter cones, they form when lava is forced through an opening in the surface that lava has already cooled on. These spatter cones are fed by underlying flow. The lava falls from the flow after being pushed out, and it makes a circular mound in the opening where lava is coming from. The volcano erupted for about 200 years, but in stages. This was unclear if it was consistent or not, but it seems that there was an initial larger first eruption, and then events seemed to slow down. Later on, though, while there was still material erupting from the volcano, there was a second larger episode where more cinder and ash was distributed from the volcano again. As for the volcano being active for 200 years, this is an extremely long time period for a cinder cone volcano to be active. Usually the time span is a few months to a few years, but in this situation, Sunset Crater erupted for far longer than that. This can also be difficult to measure. But most of the time it is done by looking at how far the lava traveled, as well as the chemistry makeup of the lava to see how far it could travel and how fast it could move. Another way of doing this is looking at carbon-14 levels in surrounding trees. Overall, Sunset Crater is a geologic event that has continued to be studied for years, and if you get the chance, I would highly recommend visiting because there is a lot to learn about Arizona and its geology from Sunset Crater.